could join us for our 7:30 news bulletin. My name is Tandiwe Mzumara. First, the headlines. Pope Leo XIV urges Christians to bring the gospel to a world marked by violence and injustice. Public Accounts Committee Pack of Parliament resummons Attorney General Frank Mbeta over Amaryllis Hotel cell inquiry after failing to appear on Monday. Opposition leader in Parliament calls for firing of individuals involved in controversial Amaryllis Hotel purchase saga. And in other news, African nations tiptoe around recruitment of citizens by Russian networks. We do have the details to these stories and more. Do stay with us. Pope Leo XIV on Sunday urged those responsible for the escalating war in the Middle East to declare a ceasefire and open paths of dialogue, warning that violence can never lead to justice or peace. The appeal comes amid continuing...
Earlier Sunday, U.S. President Donald Trump
speaking after praying the Angelus with pilgrims gathered in St. Peter's Square, Pope Leo appealed to those responsible for the conflict to halt the violence and reopen channels of dialogue, saying he was speaking on behalf of Christians in the Middle East and all people of goodwill. We have more details in this EWTN report read by Patrick Pupa.
Earlier Sunday, U.S. President Donald Trump said in a telephone interview with the NBC that Iran is seeking a ceasefire agreement to end U.S. and Israel bombing, though he said he is not prepared to accept the proposal for now because the terms are not good enough yet. Israel also struck targets in Lebanon, where at least 14 people were reportedly killed, including 4 minors. Pope Leo described the situation in the country as a cause for a great concern, noting that for the past 2 weeks the people of the Middle East have been suffering the atrocious violence of war. He then expressed his prayerful closeness to those who have lost loved ones in attacks on schools, hospitals, and residential areas. Earlier during the Angelus reflection, Pope Leo emphasized that Christians' faith does not require abandoning reason, but instead allows believers to see reality more clearly. Reflecting on the gospel account of the healing of the man born blind, the Pope said the episode revealed the deeper meaning of salvation. The Pope stressed that faith is not a blind act, nor a renunciation of reason, nor a conviction that turns believers away from the world. He explained that faith helps us to look from the point of view of Jesus with his eyes. For this reason, Christians are called to open their eyes to the suffering of others and to the wounds of the world. The Pope concluded by encouraging Christians to live a Christianity with open eyes, with simplicity and courage.
The Public Accounts Committee Pack of Parliament has resummoned Attorney General Frank Mbeta after he failed to appear before the committee on Monday regarding the inquiry into the controversial sale of the Amaryllis Hotel in Blantyre. PAC Chairperson Steve Baba Malondera said the committee has resolved to subpoena the Attorney General to appear before Parliament on Wednesday as part of the ongoing investigation. He was speaking on Monday after the AG failed to appear for PAC. Gift Kalonga was there and he reports.
Public Accounts Committee PAC Chairperson Steve Baba Malondera said the committee expected to engage the Attorney General Frank Mbeta during its meeting, but he sent an apology indicating that he was unable to attend the session. Baba Malondera said the committee had planned the interface as part of its ongoing inquiry into the sale of Amaryllis Hotel, a matter PAC is currently scrutinizing to ensure accountability. He added that the committee has since resolved to resummon the Attorney General to appear before PAC so that he can respond to the issues the committee intends to raise regarding the matter.
Individuals that we're going to meet, the list is not conclusive. As a Public Accounts Committee, we've asked our Secretariat to ensure that the list of the key stakeholders that we're engaging is made available to us. But on top of my head, I can confirm that on Wednesday, we are meeting the Registrar of Financial Institutions. In this case, it is the Reserve Bank, which is under the governor, the Reserve Bank governor. But I would like to appeal once again that those who feel that along the way, our report will be enriched by engaging other stakeholders, which they feel will help us get to the final conclusion of this issue. I'd like to appeal once again that please bring forward all those details, and your parliament is ready to do the best that has never happened.
However, Malondera has asked for protection from both the Malawi Police Service and the Speaker of Parliament, saying he and other committee members have been receiving threats following their involvement in the inquiry. Meanwhile, the Public Accounts Committee PAC is scheduled to meet on Wednesday to continue its inquiry into the sale of Amiris Hotel, with members expected to engage the Registrar of Financial Institutions and the Attorney General. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Gift Kalonga.
Leader of opposition in Parliament, Simplex Chichwa Banda MP, has called on President Peter Mutharika to fire and suspend all individuals allegedly involved in the controversial sale of the Amaryllis Hotel in Blantyre. Banda said although the president has indicated that he is following the progress of the inquiry being conducted by the Public Accounts Committee into the procurement of the hotel valued at 128 billion Malawi Kwacha through the Public Service Pension Trust Fund, PSPTF, that alone is not enough to ensure those responsible are held accountable. Chichwa Banda was speaking on Monday during parliamentary deliberations in Lilongwe. Phyllis Chizombe was there and she reports.
Chichwa Banda said President Mutharika needs to take decisive action by suspending or filing all those implicated in this scandal to allow investigations to proceed without interference. He added that the president's acknowledgement that he is monitoring the inquiry shows the seriousness of the matter and the need for the investigations to be concluded thoroughly.
The Ministry of Finance. So automatically you see the link there. There is a collective responsibility that needs to be done. And it starts from the minister, the Reserve Bank governor, and then the funds. They would have advised otherwise that this process couldn't go on. Therefore, our calling for his filing and the filing of all these people said in my statement is very much justified.
Meanwhile, Malawi Congress Party spokesperson on Finance, Economic Affairs and Decentralization, Peter Dimba, said the people at the center of the Amaryllis Hotel sale are government officials linked to the ruling Democratic Progressive Party. Dimba claimed that within 5 months in government, officials have already begun squandering public resources, warning that corruption risks taking deeper root.
For us to keep money in the bank, we would rather probably keep it under our pillows. So this is concerning. The other issue is the levy or the excise duty on women's beauty cosmetics. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Why should the minister really charge such a tax on ladies? Is he not happy to see our women, look good and beautiful? It doesn't make sense. It's actually like violence against women. And so as opposition, we are...
Reacting after the parliamentary proceedings, government spokesperson Shadrack Namalomba dismissed Dimba's remarks as misleading. Namalomba said the Minister of Finance is not involved in the matter, adding that procurement process related to the Amaryllis Hotel deal was implemented during the administration of the Malawi Congress
Fund. And that matter is continuing. It hasn't been concluded. Unfortunately, the spokesperson from the opposition, Malawi Congress Party, brought the matter in the House, and in his statement he began to accuse the government, that the government is responsible, is corrupt, and this corruption is happening under the watch of our government.
Parliament resumed sitting this afternoon in Lilongwe after the House was suspended for 2 weeks to allow
A group of concerned civil servants under the contributory pension scheme has written authorities demanding the removal of the board of the Public Servants Pension Trust Fund following concerns surrounding the controversial purchase of the Amaryllis Hotel in Luntha. In a letter dated 15th March 2026, the group accuses the board of failing to safeguard the interests of contributors and has called for urgent action over the transaction. In an interview with Luntha television, chairperson of the concerned civil servants, Gerard Chirombo, said the group has since asked authorities to intervene over the conduct of the board. Constance Kamtemeni has more details in this report.
Chirombo said civil servants are asking authorities to ensure the current board steps down to allow transparency and accountability in the management of pension funds. He has further pointed to findings from the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, which has been examining the circumstances surrounding the acquisition of the hotel. The concerned civil servants believe the inquiry has raised serious questions about the valuation of the property and the manner in which the transaction was conducted. Meanwhile, the group says investigations into the matter can still proceed even if the current board steps aside.
The evidence has always been there, also through the investigation that's been done by the Public Accountants Committee at the Parliament. So it has already been seen that the hotel has been bought over 4 times its initial amount that was assessed in 2023. That's already enough. And also we have seen that how they have some board members, how they conducted themselves in the purchase. Definitely it has shown that it wasn't done in good will.
Chairperson concerned civil servants on the contributory pension scheme. The development comes amid growing scrutiny over how pension contributions from civil servants are being managed and invested. For Luntha News, this is Constance Kamtemen.
You're still watching news coming to you live from Bishop Navy Media Center, and today with me, Tandi Wemzumara. Before we proceed, let's have another look at the headlines. Pope Leo XIV urges Christians to bring the gospel to a world marked by violence and injustice. Public Accounts Committee Pack of Parliament resummons Attorney General Frank Mbeta over Amaryllis Hotel sale inquiry after failing to appear on Monday. Opposition leader in Parliament calls for firing of individuals involved in controversial Amaryllis Hotel purchase saga. And in other news, African nations tiptoe around recruitment of citizens by Russian networks. Proceeding with the news, one of the country's health experts, Dorothy Ngoma, has urged government and medical practitioners in the country to engage in constructive dialogue following a court injunction obtained by health workers against President Professor Peter Mutharika's directive restricting their involvement in private health facilities. The directive, issued on February 16, 2026, prohibited all persons employed by public hospitals or health facilities from owning, operating, or holding shares in private clinics or pharmacies. It further ordered public health workers currently owning or operating private clinics to divest within 30 days or face dismissal from employment. Dorothy Ngoma says engagement between employers and employees is essential in resolving such matters instead of imposing decisions without consultation. We have more details on this in this report filed by Emmanuel Georgia.
Speaking to Luntha television, Ngoma explained that when someone is employed, they sign a contract
outlining how they are expected to carry out their duties. She said government authorities and a representative of health care workers should have met to discuss the matter and find a workable solution. Ngoma also noted that health care workers cannot ignore allegations of corruption within the health sector, including reports that some practitioners demand money from patients or steal drugs from public hospitals. These concerns are believed to have prompted President Mutharika to issue the executive order banning public health care workers from owning private health facilities. She therefore urged health care.
It is indeed very unfair. There are some who are very good and they are able to separate government's time and do a good job and they respect the contract 100%, but during their free time, then they go and sell their labor elsewhere, either to private practice of a colleague or another private hospital. So they go moonlighting there, and there is nothing wrong with that. So maybe I would unravel it that way to say there's a lot that needs to be done. But yes, there's a need to start negotiating, discussing, and coming to the table to unravel what really is on the table, instead of maybe looking at everybody who has a private practice as a criminal and engaging in malpractices. I think that in itself is not quite fair.
Meanwhile, Chairperson for Human Resource for Health Care Workers, Solomon Chomba, confirmed to Luntha Television that the health care workers obtained a coach induction, arguing that the executive order was issued without consultation and infringed on their rights.
So as leaders, we have a solemn obligation to attend to the needs of our members. So we had no excuse, because we were voted into those positions to carry the voice of members. So because we had that obligation, we had to say, okay, fine, what do you say, members? So members said, no, this thing, we are not for it, and we're not buying it. And what was happening is, all our health workers were resigning by 1st of April. That was a decision. They were resigning. People said, okay, we're ready to resign. So for us as health care, as leaders, we could see this other side. If all health care workers who are owning private practices, they make a decision to resign on the 1st April, what will happen in this country? There was supposed to be chaos in this country. Innocent Marines were to die and suffer. So this again would also have brought a serious repercussion to the leadership of His Excellency. To safeguard that, that's why I said, okay, fine.
The court injunction means that the government cannot enforce the executive order until the matter is held and determined by the court. For Luntha News, in Ilongwe, this is Emmanuel Chiwocha.
The Malawi Electoral Commission (MEC) has confirmed that all is set for Tuesday's by-elections in some parts of the country. MEC Chairperson Justice Annabel Mtalimanja said the distribution of voting materials to most polling centers has been successfully completed ahead of the polls. Justice Mtalimanja made these remarks on Monday after inspecting several polling centers in Lintembwe Ward in Lower District as part of the Commission's nationwide preparedness assessment. Alison Banda has more details in this report.
Mtalimanja said the deployment exercise has progressed smoothly in most areas, although the delivery of materials have experienced delays in Irembe Ward in Karonga, Rumpi Central and Nkhotakota Luwala's constituencies due to logistical challenges and long distances involved in transporting the materials. Despite the delays, Mtalimanja expressed confidence that the remaining materials will be delivered by the close of business today to ensure that all polling stations are fully prepared for the electoral process. She has since called on eligible voters in the affected areas to turn out in large numbers and peacefully exercise their democratic right to vote. Meanwhile, the MEC chairperson has also urged voters to strictly follow electoral rules and procedures, emphasizing the need to maintain peace during and after voting process, including the announcement of the results. She ensured the public that adequate security measures have been put in place, and she warned that anyone who breaks the law will face appropriate legal action.
For the other polling stations, none has registered any concerns or challenges regarding the materials that they've received, indicating that each polling station has received the correct materials. As you know, the ballot papers are customized to each polling station, so we have not received any reports of any challenges throughout all the areas, the constituencies and the wards where we're conducting the by-election. Our encouragement as the Commission is for all registered voters to turn out in large numbers so that they can cast their vote. It's very important for them to do this as part of their civic duty and responsibility.
The Malawi Electoral Commission is scheduled to conduct by-elections tomorrow in 4 constituencies: Rumpi Central, Dedza Mtakataka, Blantyre West and Nkhotakota Liwalads, alongside 9 wards by-elections across the country to fill vacant parliamentary and local government seats.
Now, in other news, Kenyan Foreign Minister Musalia Mudavadi has said on Monday that Moscow and Nairobi has agreed that Kenyan nationals will no longer fight for Russia in Ukraine. Mudavadi made the statement after holding talks with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov in Moscow. Musalia Mudavadi said President William Ruto had engaged them on the welfare of Kenyans in Russia, particularly those involved in the special operation. We have more details in this Reuters report read by Patrick Popper.
Kenyan Foreign Minister Musalia Mudavadi said government had agreed that Kenyans would no longer be enlisted through the Russian Ministry of Defense and that no further recruitment of Kenyans would take place. He added that consular services would be organized for those Kenyans requiring assistance through proper diplomatic channels. A Kenyan intelligence report presented to lawmakers in February said that more than 1,000 Kenyans had been recruited to fight on Russia's side in the war in Ukraine, 5 times more than authorities had previously estimated. Reports in recent weeks revealed that the scope and scale of the recruitment of Africans into Russia's depleted forces, often via third parties offering lucrative civilian jobs, triggering anger in countries like Kenya, Ghana, and South Africa. Families want more action to bring the recruits home, but African governments worry about overtly taking sides during Russia's war in Ukraine have avoided angering Moscow, mindful that the recruitment scandal has not yet triggered widespread public outcry or political heat. Ukraine says that there are over 1,700 Africans fighting on the Russian side, though analysts say that figure is likely higher. In February, Ghana said more than 50 Ghanaians had been killed in the Ukraine war after being lured into battle. Russian authorities have denied illegally recruiting African citizens to fight in Ukraine.
And that's about what we had time for in this edition of our news bulletin. But before we go, here's a reminder of the headlines. Pope Leo XIV urges Christians to bring the gospel to a world marked by violence and injustice. Public Accounts Committee Pack of Parliament resummons Attorney General Frank Mbeta over Amaryllis Hotel sale inquiry after failing to appear on Monday. Opposition leader in Parliament calls for firing of individuals involved in controversial Amaryllis Hotel purchase saga. And in other news, African nations tiptoe around recruitment of citizens by Russian networks. My name is Tandiwe Nzumara. Thank you for keeping me company, and do continue following the rest of our programs right here on Luntha TV. Goodbye for now, and do stay tuned.